Thanks, Julia. I'm Richard Treloar. I'm the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Gippsland, which means I have pastoral responsibility and oversight for all of the Anglicans in this region, which consists of 30 parishes, two schools and a number of chaplaincies. So, yeah, wonderful to be set here in beautiful Gippsland.
Excellent. What did you know about Kooyoora before engaging with us?
I think we were one of the early
The founding
uptake,
members?
dioceses. So, but I knew because I came to Gippsland from Melbourne, I knew a little bit about Kooyoora from my Melbourne days. And I think it's fair to say in those early days that there were probably a few teething problems for Kooyoora, which I think have been, largely in my experience, well and truly ironed out as the organisation's grown and evolved and diversified. um, our experience in Gippsland has been an overwhelmingly positive one.
Yeah, great. How would you describe working with us?
Very easy, Julia. I think the Director of Professional Standards that's provided to us by Kooyoora is very responsive, and other staff, including the Executive Director, are also readily available to us, which is great. And members of Kooora's clearance team attend our Safe Ministry Authority meetings regularly to assist with the interface between kind of in-house and outsourced aspects of safe ministry clearances, and also with the transition to the OSCAR platform, which has been really quite labour intensive for both our volunteers and our staff alike, but is proving really well worthwhile.
Yeah, great. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what the biggest impact or the biggest change you've seen as a result of engaging with Kooyoora has been for your diocesan ministry?
Yeah, I think at one level we've managed to achieve some significant cost savings by working with Kooyoora, who've made every effort at their end to manage expenses. It's just the streamlining of processes and having those protocols in place and being part of a larger organisation. There's that kind of economy of scale, I guess, that you guys bring. But more importantly, in my role, perhaps for me personally, it's really about that peace of mind that comes from having an independent professional standards office. It really kind of passes my sleep test.
Yeah.
And it's also great for me and for other senior colleagues to be able to seek confidential, independent advice about general and specific matters that may or may not need to be responded to in the professional standards space. And I think that's really strengthened other pathways for addressing grievances, conflict resolution, and more preventative wellbeing practices and cultural change, so as to try and reduce the number of matters that progress to professional standards. And we've also found that the counselling services and wellbeing support services provided by Kooyoora have been really helpful for us to be able to access and engage from time to time.
Yeah, great. Would you recommend Kooyoora to someone in a similar situation to you?
I absolutely would. As I said earlier, I think a lot of the teething issues that perhaps led to some frustrations in years gone by around the time taken to resolve matters, I think they've been overcome, to a very large degree as Kooyoora has grown and evolved and diversified as an organisation, and I think responded to feedback, because there's a very active feedback loop which we're happy to engage with. So, yeah, I would have no hesitation in recommending Kooyoora services to other bishops and other dioceses, and indeed other community and church organisations, because I know you serve beyond the Anglican Church and beyond churches per se.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you wanted to reflect on or share in relation to working with Kooyoora?
I guess, Julia, just, I describe it as being like a partnership with a team of people with whom we have good, close working relationships. We know one another. We can pick up the phone and talk to each other. There is a genuine relationship, and the team there has bespoke skills and experiences which are enormously valuable, obviously, in this very complex and fast-moving space. But there's also a kind of good dose of common sense that comes with all of that. So even though it is independent, and that's really, really important. And we'll get the mirror, held up to us at times when we need to respond to something differently or take action. So it is it's a robust relationship, but it does feel like a genuine partnership and a two-way street. So that's one of the really pleasing things I think about in our context, that's made the transition from something more internal to that more outsourced arm's length relationship work really well for us in our context.
I wonder if you might talk a little bit more about the importance of independence. You've mentioned that a couple of times during our chat, and I want to unpack a bit of that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get caught in kind of self-reinforcing loops, isn't it? And understandings and perceptions and in our own kind of echo chambers and silos. So I think to have a team of people who can bring an external lens to something that we might be well familiar with and have certain ideas about, but who can say, hang on, have you thought about this aspect? Are you aware of this? I think that's just adds a lot of rigor to the system, and it means that we're not just saying the things that that we want to hear internally and that the people around us want to hear, but we're actually responding to a measured a measured and professional opinion from another source, with whom we can have a conversation. So it's not just something that's handed down, but it is something that we can work through together. But I find a great deal of comfort in knowing that the advice I'm getting and that we're getting as a diocese is at arm's length, it is independent, and it is very professional.
And what do you think that means for the community?
It's a great question, and I think, as I keep hearing myself say to our people, this goes to the heart of our mission, because it's about our credibility, I think, in the public square. We need to be able to say, hand on heart, that we have taken every possible measure to keep our people safe and to keep the wider community safe. And that goes to the reception of the gospel. And so it's not just a compliance issue. It is a compliance issue, and compliance is important, but it's also a cultural issue around the safety and the well-being of our people. And it's also a missional piece around how we can recover the authenticity to proclaim the gospel, to live the gospel, mindful of the shortfallings of the recent past.